Good afternoon, amigos, from
Waxahachie, Texas.
I forget where we
I
are.
almost said Mexico City.
If you're new around here, we're two gringos that live in Mexico. We make daily videos about what?
Our life in Mexico, including all of our bumps along the way.
But for now, we're visiting family in Texas for a short time here. So today we're talking about a few things that we've come to miss while we're here in Texas.
Been here a week and we already have Mexico withdrawals. Thing number one we miss is the walkability and the sociability. ¿Cómo se llama? Matila. Matila. Social ability. Talking ability about Mexico, particularly in Mexico City. We walked everywhere, and Greg and I, believe it or not, are not the most social people outside of these videos. So we were sort of forced to make friends and acquaintances just by stepping outside. And here, I think at least in my grandmother's town of Waxahachie, you can go days on end without seeing another human. Much less having to speak to them. So I also think with that, the walkability aspect, here we haven't walked anywhere. We've walked around the block several times. Cars fly down this road. And in Mexico, it's just more set up to be a walkable area.
And I think the community aspect of that, whether it's intentional or not, I feel like you see the same people.
Yeah.
Or you just see people, whether it's the same people or not, you just see people.
It's like when our grandparents used to say they would share sugar with Susie down the street, and I feel like it's still sort of like that in Mexico, when now here in Waxahachie, my grandmother doesn't even know her neighbors.
As long as you don't go share your sugar with nobody else.
Okay. Speaking of the walkability in Mexico is something that we miss. Now that we're in our car driving, it takes exponentially longer to run sort of mundane errands. For example, if we have 3 things to do here in Waxahachie, it's 5 hours later and we have to make a 4th pit stop at Sonic. But if we have to run 3 errands in Mexico, we just go outside and walk to whatever we need to. And I do not miss driving or being a passenger in this crazy driver's seat. As all women know, men can't drive.
And speaking of driving, we just had to sit through traffic, and not one person was offering me boo-boo-lubus. Not one person was selling waters. No Mazapan was offered. So it's like even when you have to sit in traffic, it's still somehow worse. Speaking of boo-boo-lubus, which is boo-boo-lubus deserve a whole video in and of themselves, but we're walking.
Really boo.
Okay, we're walking through a random neighborhood in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there's not one person selling tamales.
There's not a peep.
No churros.
Pan!
There's certainly no pan. There's no one coming by for us to sell our mattresses to. There's no gold
Tamales,
chones.
oaxaqueños.
Hold on. It's just strangely quiet and boring.
Lame.
All that to say, we miss pan. We never even had the camotes and tamales oaxaqueños. We never even had those, but just the noises themselves. We miss those.
Yeah.
Okay, speaking about the noise and everything in Mexico City led us to come into an arcade, batting cage, putt putt. We've had a ton of fun, which brings us to the next thing we miss about Mexico, and I think it goes along with the noises, but geez, that is really loud actually. It's a little more quiet in here, but it's just the general attitude of festiveness. Everybody's having fun. It's always a party. There's always a reason to celebrate. The streets are always colorfully decorated. I know that's a silly thing, but I think that's definitely something we miss, and just the festiveness for us, I think, probably maybe for Mexico and Mexicans as a whole, is just the overall presence of a deep culture, and you definitely feel that here in Texas. It's a lot different, y'all, but it's here in Texas, but just not quite as festive.
Perhaps one of the most important things we miss about Mexico when we're away is...
We probably waited way too late in the video for this, by the way.
food. So we just finished a pretty good dinner.
Ooh,
and
Cracker Barrel. This might be the one meal that we miss when we're there? Besides
One meal
our
we miss in
grandma's
America.
cooking.
I think the freshness of the food in Mexico is truly unmatched.
It
I
really
think
is.
every meal we have there is like a home run.
The freshness, the hint of spiciness and
Spiciness?
and spiciness and everything.
Yeah,
Tacos
yeah,
de
the
pastor,
flavor.
tortas, mole, tamales. Actually, we're not huge tamales
Yeah.
persons, if we're being honest. But I mean, we like them. What else? I mean, chilaquiles, everything.
Everything is just so fresh and so full of flavor. I think here everything tends to be more like plain, and then you can add salt and pepper and
Yeah.
spice if you like it. But I
Add a
think in
stick of
Mexico,
butter.
everything already has spice. But today I've eaten 3 rolls and 2 biscuits, so
And that does. I asked a few of you on Twitter. Thanks for following us on Twitter. And if you're not,
do.
I asked a few of you what you miss the most about Mexico when you leave, and all of you said food.
We're not the only foodies here.
Nothing else. So when we were coming up with this list, we felt bad because a lot of them had to deal with food.
Yeah.
And so we tried to come up with some other things that didn't have to deal with food, because obviously our love for Mexico is so much deeper
Bigger
than
than just food. I think we talked about how a lot of them are like intertwined though. So for us it's fun to go on a date and eat food and then share that date with you guys. But part of that is getting out, interacting with the people in the neighborhood, being able to walk to dinner, having a nice talk. And so that kind of goes into the walkability of Mexico that we miss, the sociability. So
Exactly. When I think everybody feels and expresses culture in different ways. For some people that's more through music, some people that's through art. For us, that is through food. Stomachs. So that's that combined with the language is really the 2 main avenues in which we're learning about Mexico. So I know there's not too many people complaining about the amount of tortillas we're eating out there, though.
No, except us.
If we haven't made it abundantly clear, we absolutely miss Mexico, and that is why we are returning in how many days?
3.
3 days. So I told you that we would be back before you know it. We were super excited. We really do miss
So much.
so much. I mean, more than we can really show in a video. And obviously, there's a lot of things we miss about Texas and the United States when we're away as well. Primarily our family, which we're having a great time with tonight. But we're gonna soak up these last few days with our family, and we are very much looking forward to our trip back to Mexico, our ever extending trip back to Mexico. And I just like freaking you guys out every time that we leave, that there's a small percentage of you that get mad. And
Gotcha. Thank you guys so much for watching. Were you done?
I think so.
Oh, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Click the bell, that way you get notified.
Cada vez.
We post a video, and we'll see you guys from good old Flower Mound, Texas.
Mañana. And just for like this place we're in, Cracker Barrel, for the Mexicanos out there that maybe have never been to the States or just never been to Cracker Barrel, it's
weird.
It's kind of like Sanborns, though, right? Sanborns.
Except for like super, not stage stand. I mean, there's like shovels hanging from the ceiling.
It's a little over the top,
It's a little
but
Texan.
it is. It's like.
But they're biscuits and homemade apple preserves. Ooh, kill them dead.
You really think it's homemade? Like here?
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's not?
I don't know.